Fairview Park is one of those cities in the greater Cleveland area that took me a really long time to start to figure out why people were moving there and what all the buzz was about, because from the outside looking in, as a person who hadn't really spent a lot of time there growing up, it didn't really seem like there was a lot happening there. But now the more and more houses that I sell in the area, I'm starting to get a feel of why everyone really loves this place and why it's a great spot to call home. And today we're going to be going over exactly what it's like to live in Fairview Park. Now, my name's Sam Oler. I'm a realtor in the greater Cleveland area, so if you're starting to think about moving over this way, you can find all of my contact information down in the description. I help a lot of people move here every single year, and I've got a lot of processes in place that are going to make your transition over to the greater Cleveland area a lot easier, so make sure you reach out. Now back to Fairview Park. There is a pretty deep history that comes along with this just because of the location. We have around a 20-minute drive to get to downtown Cleveland from Fairview Park, so it's relatively close. You get that nice suburban community feel where a lot of the other communities in the area are going to take over 30 minutes to get to downtown. So Fairview Park was originally a part of Rockport Township, later the Rocky River hamlet. The hamlet was incorporated as a village in 1903 and it was split in 1910, with the northern part of the region becoming Rocky River and the southern part assuming the name Goldwood. Now, if you watch any of my other videos, a lot of these areas get split and then that was that. But at this point, we don't even have the Fairview name in sight. So there were actually a few splits that happened within the city as time went on throughout the 1900s. But as time went on, Rockport Township actually split even further and went into Rocky River. But once Goldwood got split, and after that first split happened, another split happened with Goldwood where even more became part of Rocky River and the rest remained Goldwood. And then after that second split, there was a third split where Goldwood got separated and part of it got annexed into Cleveland and the other part got turned into Fairview. Now at this point, Fairview was a village and it was not an actual city, so it was able to keep that name. But in 1929, an economic recession in Fairview led to consideration of annexation to Cleveland. However, the plan never went to ballot and Fairview maintained its independence. And in 1948, Fairview became Fairview Park because we already had a Fairview, Ohio, but they didn't want to change the name and confuse everyone. So they added that extra part onto the name so that it could remain Fairview. A lot of the growth in this area didn't happen until after World War II. But since it was so close to Cleveland, it ended up becoming a hub for a lot of people to want to move, and that happened around 1947 timeline. And then from there, the city has continuously grown with adding different shopping centers and different retail areas that you could go hang out at, so it was more appealing for the residents to want to live there and stay there. Now, the average home price in Fairview Park is actually $300,000, so it's on the higher side for the greater Cleveland area as far as living in the suburbs go. So if you are trying to take your time throughout the home buying process in this area, it's going to be tricky because if it's a house that a lot of people are wanting to get into, we call these hot homes. They're going to be houses that are in great condition or freshly renovated. They're going under contract in about 5 days and they're going about 4% above list price. Now, if you're okay with something that needs a little bit more work, you're going to be able to take some more time because the houses that need the work are going to be sitting on the market for around 15 days or so, and they're going to be going under contract. And if you're in multiple offers on this type of house, you're probably only going to be 1% above list price. But at this point where we're at with the market, I'm seeing a lot of houses sit up for sale a little bit longer. And if you're the only one who is offering on the house, you have all of the leverage in the negotiation. Granted, that's within reason, but the goal here is to be the only one bidding on the house because that is where you're going to be getting your best price. Now, I've got videos that explain different negotiation tactics for different scenarios, but that's something that I'm going to be able to help you with if you're starting to move to this area and you decide to work with me. And in reality, the majority of the people who are moving here are going to be coming from a local area, and they're just basically going to be city hopping within Cuyahoga County. As far as the climate factors go for living in Fairview Park, you are going to have very similar factors as all of the other suburbs that surround. It's rare that we get tornadoes. I wouldn't really put much emphasis on that. We don't get fires. There's no hurricanes. The worst you're going to have to deal with is a little bit of snow during the winter. And throughout the winter, we get hit maybe like 3 or 4 times really hard where it's really tough to drive. but within a few hours of that happening, the streets are usually pretty manageable, so you don't have to put a lot of worry into not being able to get to work very often. The other thing that you're gonna have to think about moving to this area is that it is pretty densely wooded, so you are going to have a lot of trees nearby, and if you have a tree near your house, something that's worth thinking about with the roots is the fact that it could grow into the foundation of your home if it's too close. Another thing that it could do is grow into the drains that connect your house to the street, and that could pose to be a problem over time as well, where a lot of these old houses are going to have clay pipes and they break down over time, but that's something that we can assess per house that we look at. As far as up where the branches are, you're just gonna wanna make sure to maintain any dead branches, especially the big ones, because if those fall on your house, that could cause some real issues, but as long as you keep up with that, you're gonna be all right. Now with walkability in Fairview Park, that is kind of one of those things where it depends on where you live. If you live closer to a main road, it's gonna be a lot shorter and easier to walk to the different coffee shops and restaurants that they have available. But if you live further back in the neighborhoods, that might be something that you wanna consider driving to those areas. If you're living here, there's a really good chance that you're still gonna wanna have that car available to you, and one per family is enough. But if you and your spouse have any sort of commute to work, you're probably gonna want to have too. Now, Fairview Park High School is ranked in the low 3000s in the national rankings, and it's ranked number 118 in Ohio schools, and I think that's out of around 800 schools. So as far as the education that it provides for the students, it's ranked pretty well. You can't go wrong with sending your kids here. In the fall, the students are going to have different activities that they can participate in, and those are going to include things like football, soccer, cross country, golf, cheer, tennis, and volleyball. In the winter, they're going to have sports like basketball, gymnastics, cheer, bowling, swimming, and wrestling. Come spring, they're going to be able to take part in baseball, tennis, and track. And then as far as the extracurriculars go, it's a little bit trickier to find what they have available, but there's a short list on their website that explains a few different options that the kids have to choose from. And those are going to include anything from builders club to cheerleading, chorus, math club, orchestra, power of the pen, robotics, and student council. And with all of the resources that the school has available, I'm sure there's a longer list for students to get involved with, but those are just a few just to get an idea as far as what to expect if you're going to send your kids there. But Fairview Park is definitely a great option for any student to go to as far as getting ready for post-high school life, whether it be college or just going directly into working. And speaking of work, if you're living in Fairview Park, you're going to have a lot of opportunity as far as jobs go. Because in the greater Cleveland area, I'm pretty sure there's like 36,000 openings for jobs on different websites like Indeed or Glassdoor if you're wanting to stay in the Fairview area for work, there's going to be less jobs available than if you're willing to drive about 20 to 25 minutes. But in Fairview, you're going to find different jobs. And the Westgate Mall and the Fairview Center are going to be two of the bigger employers in the area. So you've got different stores and restaurants to choose from there as well. The majority of the residents that do live here are going to be taking on a commute to a different city. So that is just something to think about if you're moving here. You're probably going to have some sort of commute in the Cleveland area. Now, like I said, Cleveland does have a ton of job openings. We've got a few different Fortune 500 companies located downtown, and those are going to include things like Progressive, Sherwin-Williams, Key Corporation. And we also have a massive healthcare community here too, and it's world renowned, so there are lots of locations here. Between University Hospital and the Cleveland Clinic, if you're involved in healthcare at any point, you are going to have a million different locations, it seems like, throughout the area, whether you're going south of Cleveland, west of Cleveland, east of Cleveland, or Cleveland itself, where all the hubs are. These hospitals are some of the biggest employers in Ohio. As far as the population goes for Fairview Park, we're going to be sitting right around 17,000. And of those 17,000 people, I would say the large majority of them are going to have some sort of white collar work that they take on. And the average household income in this area is right at $97,000. If you're wondering how far you're going to have to travel for all of your shopping, you do not have to travel far at all. Because Fairview Park is relatively small, you're going to have two main shopping centers where you're going to be spending the majority of your time. And one of those is Westgate and the other is Westwood. Over in both of those shopping centers, you'll find big names and small names as far as retail, grocery, and restaurants go. But some of them are going to include Giant Eagle, Aldi. Common Threads is a good thrift store. You've got your AMC movie theater, Home Depot. And I actually play a lot of soccer over in this area at Toka, which was formerly known as Force. So depending on when you're watching this, they might have fully merged. And if you're trying to get involved with it, you might have to type in Toka instead of Force. But everyone still calls it Force nowadays, so we'll see where that goes. But if you're shopping over on Lorraine, there's a really cool coffee shop over there. And there's only one of these, but it's called Troubadour Coffee. And this guy actually imports coffee every single year, and there's a few different places that he imports from. It's not one of those shops that are going to give you milk and different syrups to mix in with it. He's very big on experiencing the coffee for how it should taste, and honestly, I was a little skeptical going into it, but I tasted the coffee and it was absolutely delicious. Between the different kinds that you can try, there is a pretty big difference. So depending on what your flavor profile is, it's worth going there a few different times just to try the different options that they have available. And the owner is a really nice guy that runs it, so definitely chat him up and ask questions while you're ordering and while he's making your drink, because he's happy to educate you in whatever way he can. Now, as far as activities that are available in Fairview Park, like I said, you've got your soccer, and they also have tennis courts there as well. But Bain Park and Morton Park are two spots that you should go hang out if you are into the nature scene. Over in those areas, you're gonna have walkable trails, baseball fields, soccer fields, playgrounds, and different tennis courts. So if it's summertime and it's nice outside and you don't want to pay to go play tennis, you can just go over to these different parks and just enjoy your time. Now, the Rocky River Reservation also runs through this area, so depending on where you're at, you have a pretty short commute to go to the different picnic areas and the different sites. And the Rocky River Reservation makes this a really cool area to drive through, just because there's some super steep cliffs that have big drop-offs that lead down to the river, and it's a really cool overlook if you are trying to get some neat pictures or just enjoy the view. The city also has a community garden that is available to the residents to get involved with, and then there's a bunch of different community organizations that you can get involved in on top of that. Now, if you're more of the sporty type and you love watching sports, downtown Cleveland is just a short drive away, so you are going to have access to professional sports that are played on a high level no matter what time of year it is. In the winter, you're going to have the Cavs and the Monsters. In the spring, you're going to have the Guardians. In the fall, you get the Cleveland Browns. I know it's not much, but we take what we can get, and we're loyal to our sports teams to a fault. Now, living in this greater Cleveland area is so nice just because the cost of living is so low compared to a lot of the different areas throughout the United States. So when you get over here, you can pay for your housing and then still have money left over to go out and enjoy your life. And I think that is really overlooked in the area for how special we really have it. Now, let me know what your thoughts are if you've been to Fairview Park in the comments down below. Like I said, I wasn't sure what all the hype was about when I was originally living in this area as a kid, but now that I'm spending more time in Fairview Park, I really enjoy everything that it has to offer. So if you're starting to think about moving over this way, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help in whatever way that I can. If you want to contact me, all of my info is down in the description. My social media is also down in the description, but before you go check that out, definitely hit the like button and subscribe to keep up with everything that's going on in the greater Cleveland area. But with all that being said, I'm gonna leave the video there. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.